So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminsky Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
So how do you create a brand that truly represents who you are and the products you sell, as well as building a business that you can scale online? That is what this podcast will help you do. My name is Henry Kaminsky Jr., and welcome to the Brand Doctor Podcast.
Let me just make this statement loud and clear. Jersey's here, Jersey's here.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another Brand Doctor Podcast episode. I'm your host, Henry Kaminsky Jr., aka the Brand Doctor from uniquedesigns.net. And today we have an amazing guest. I've known this individual now for some years. I met him in Russell Brunson's Inner Circle program. We were Inner Circle members together. And ever since I met this guy, he has been a just powerhouse in his space. Talk about somebody that really dials in and focuses on mastering his craft in a specific space. And when I watched him grow and build, and it was just absolutely amazing to watch this dude just skyrocket to the level of success that he is experiencing right now. Here's a guy that took an e-commerce business literally from scratch, and built it into a $370 million powerhouse. And so he learned quite a bit of lessons along the way. And I wanted him to come on the show to share those lessons with us, because us fellow entrepreneurs, we like to learn from our colleagues. And so we're going to dive into his backstory and really, really dive into how he was able to build such a massive, massive business right after this quick message. If you're a business owner who feels your branding isn't truly representing the value that you deliver, check out this free video training that will help you level up your brand's messaging and online presence so that you can start attracting higher quality clients. Visit www.uniquedesigns with a Z at the end, not an S, .net/level up my branding. My man, Jason O'Neill from ecomsolutions.io. What is shaking, my dude?
What's up, Henry? Man, hey, I got to give you some credit. That intro and stuff is so fancy. It's so nice. I'm so jealous. Like my stuff always looks terrible, and like I come on here and the first thing that starts is this super high definition, high profile thing. It's like, yep. No wonder this is a brand guy, and I'm just an e-commerce dude that works out of a warehouse.
I appreciate that, dude. You know, I've been trying to level up my game now, and I constantly figure out how can I be better than I was yesterday. And it's just been an evolution, man. Believe me, if you saw the show and heard the show 4 years ago, you wouldn't have said that. I promise you. So it's a work in progress, and I'm constantly trying to level up. So Jason, walk us through a little bit of a backstory of how you got into the space and how you built this bad boy from the ground up. I mean, I would love to hear this journey.
So so I got started back in the very, very last month of 2013. I'll just kind of bring you to the low point of everything. I was on unemployment for that year, and that year I was intentionally not trying to get a job. I was in the corporate world, and I ended up having some troubles with some previous employers that I had. So that year I found myself on unemployment, and I really didn't want to have to go back to a job, because when I was working in every single job, it didn't matter which job it was, I just realized that at some point I was just probably never going to really truly be happy working in some of the jobs that I had. And I didn't have a college education or anything. So I started kind of learning marketing, and I saw all the people out there that were making tons and tons of money in marketing, and I didn't have a lot of success at it. I was in the network marketing space that year, and I didn't ever make any money at it. So I'm living on unemployment. And the very, very last month of the year, I kept seeing these ads for this thing called drop shipping at the time. So I sat through one of the presentations and I saw, wow, I could take products from Walmart, or at the time it was from Amazon, and mark it up and sell it on eBay. And I was like, that's pretty cool. So I started doing it and started making a little bit of money, and moving into the new year, my unemployment was running out. So I had a goal of just being able to find a way to replace that unemployment income, which I associated that with freedom, right? If I could just replace that unemployment income, I already kind of knew what it was like to be broke. So it wasn't like I was taking a step back. I already knew what it was like to be broke. So if I could just be broke and be happy, it would be better than go get a job and still be broke, So started drop shipping pretty quickly. Now I was able to take some lessons that I learned. I'll try to make it real quick. I was able to take some lessons that I did learn while I was in the corporate world and build this outsourced labor team around me. And I taught them how to find products. I taught them what I was doing, and I managed them and I monitored them, and I made sure that I worked with them to help provide them the knowledge in order to be successful at it. Within a few months, we were rolling at $100,000 a month in sales. And I was a part of a community at the time. And, by just doing the outsourcing, it was solving such a big problem that everyone was having. So I got called on the stage in July that year. And everyone was just asking, like, what's your secret? What's your secret? What's your secret? And it was simply just learning how I could pay a little bit of money over here and make money over here, make more money than I paid, right? So on scale, that's the only thing that's kind of like, I've done this every single day for the last 7 years. The process hasn't changed at all over the 7 years. Now, when you say 370 million, let me give a caveat to that. I haven't made myself 370 million. There's been $370 million that has come through my platform. So the way that getting the platform came to be, I hired Russell Brunson back in 2014, and I was talking to Russell about, hey man, this is the secret sauce. Outsourcing is where the money's at. Learning how to get other people to go find the products for me. I know if I put $2 in, I'm going to get $10 back out. So I'm going to start teaching people how to go outsource. And he said, well, if you could wrap the outsourcing around drop shipping, you might have something there. So put our first ever webinar together. I was able to leverage the attention that I already had from some of these drop ship communities by being on stage. So did my first ever perfect webinar that year, and ended up like having maybe like 30 people on the presentation, and I sold like half of them. Which was like a huge amount of money for me at the time. It was like $1,000 course. And the cool thing is everyone came in the beginning and had some success. And what I started learning was quickly, and this has kind of been the way that we've kind of been able to navigate through the waters over the years. And anything that you want to ask how we ended up kind of navigating them, what we've identified over the years is, you don't necessarily need to have a ton of clients. I've identified, like, when I do have some clients, some people, some attention, if I can just solve their problems, if I could help them solve their problems, they'll be clients of mine for years and years and years to come, So we built a software initially that was designed around helping dropshippers scale. Now the model itself became very flawed and disallowed. You can't really do it effectively anymore. So there's been a lot of kind of pivots along the way from, starting out just in my living room, trying to find some products and getting to the point where I have some success going on, and it's been snatched away many, many times over the years, made a ton of mistakes, but along the way, like, the only thing that stayed consistent is the fact that we're constantly trying to pay attention to what the challenges that I'm going through, Because if I'm going through those challenges, my clients are also going through those challenges as well. And that's how we've been able to kind of navigate these waters to where we're at today. And if you see them, what you'll see in the background is you'll see some big old trucks driving by because we're working out of a warehouse at this point. So we have our own warehouse, and we have a lot of products that are flowing through here on a daily basis, and a really exciting distribution company that we've been able to form out of kind of just years of just being in the game. And I say this, a lot of times I've kind of seen over the years when people want to jump into a business, they ask the question, like, how fast can I start making some money? And it's like, if you're willing to be really, really patient and let it happen over the course of time. Like, I think Tony Robbins has the quote that people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year and underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. So where I see my business is at, I don't think of myself as like a particularly talented marketer or anything. I mean, I'm okay. I don't love marketing, so you don't see me out there a whole lot marketing. I like kind of like building processes, and I kind of like learning how to figure out how to source products. And because we've stayed in the game and we've learned the supply chain and all these little tips and tricks along the way, we're on pace to really have some hockey stick growth to where that 370 million is legitimate 370 million that we're making as a company, so kind of jumped all over the place there with that.
That's all right. No, that's all right. I mean, I'm listening to you and I'm saying, wow, I mean, this started literally from scratch, like unemployment to where you're at now, and all those rocky roads and ups and downs along the way. One of my questions for you is, what was one of the big aha moments that made you realize as an entrepreneur that you were a true entrepreneur and that you were going to create this legacy for yourself, whether or not you even knew it, consciously?
Desperate, being desperate to not want to lose, because when you've been at the bottom, you know what it's like to be at the bottom. And once you start kind of climbing yourself out of that, you don't want to go back to that point, and there's been some skills that I've been able to learn over the years, like joining Russell's mastermind was probably one of the best decisions that I made in my life, because I learned how to present, information to audiences. It's not been the way that I've really kind of made my money over the years, by doing, I think digital courses. I mean, I did sell digital courses for a while, and I don't really do it as much these days, but being able to dial up a presentation at any given moment to be able to kind of keep the lights on has been very, very beneficial, because there's been a lot of times throughout the years where the company was not profitable. If we take a look at all the revenues coming in and all the expenses going out, and I'm a big fan of outsourcing, and I'm a big fan of having people help do things, and that doesn't always come cheap, right? So there's times where you got to make sacrifices as the owner of a company and as the entrepreneur. And I know that you have a lot of people that have differing opinions. They say, profit first. And, it's kind of like finding that balance, finding that mix of, being profitable while investing into other people and investing into the growth of the company, because you need revenues in order for there to be growth. So I think it's just been literally, mistake after mistake after mistake, and learning from those mistakes and trying not to continuously make the same exact mistake over and over. Being willing to try things, being willing to invest into things that may or may not work out, because there's been a lot of times where I have invested a lot of money into certain things that didn't work out. I mean, as a software developer, we didn't know anything about software development in the very beginning, hired a lot of terrible developers and had to redo all that stuff. So I think just being an entrepreneur has become a part of me, because like really what entrepreneurship's all about is really just solving problems, like getting good at solving problems. And there's always going to be new ones to solve, no matter how big or small or big you grow. I think that we have this kind of like this thought that like once I start making XYZ amount of money, all my problems are going to go away. And that's not necessarily the case. You have new problems that you have to figure out, So I I just love entrepreneurship. I love being a business owner. I love the fact that I have people that count on me and that I get to show up for and try to be a provider to them. I have, I think, 40 people who work for me at this point across the world. Some of them here in the US and a lot of them scattered in different areas of the world. So it's a really cool feeling to know that from going from a guy that could barely put food on his own table, that I'm putting food on the table for 40 families at this point. You know, and it's a team effort. It doesn't happen just because of me. It happens because that team. If that team decided to go away, then I'm back at the starting line.
Well, let's talk about team for a second, because this is a really hot topic. Ironically, today on Clubhouse, I was moderating a room earlier, and the big topic of conversation was team building. How do you hire? How do you create a culture inside of your business that is going to help elevate and create and build and thrive? And so my question to you would be is, when you're building out your team, what exactly goes through your mind, and what is sort of your process to building that team? Because you want to get A players. We all do, right? So how do you weed out the C and D players and get those A players on your team?
That's a really, really good question. I think I was in the same room as you were this morning. I think it was Breakfast of Champions. And I heard the conversation. A lot of it was about culture, and a lot of it, and it's like, man, I have so much going through my head at that point of all the mistakes that I've made, being a terrible leader along the years. I mean, there's been fits that I've thrown. There's been relationships that I've kind of burnt through poor leadership. So if anything, I think communication is everything, and really having clear and consistent communication amongst yourself and your leadership inside of your organization goes a long way. I've had a lot of times where I did a bad job of that, or, you know, one of the things, I recently hired someone and made it through the interview process, started working with the person, and quickly realized that, you know what, I don't really like working with this person that much. So the old me would probably try to force the square peg into a round hole, where the new me just said, you know what, this is just not going to work. What do they say? Hire slow and fire fast. I believe that to be true. You know, if you got
what was the trigger that made you feel like this wasn't a good fit?
You want to know the real story? Okay. It's an interesting story. So, first day the person started, in the interview process, they voiced their desire to have some type of compensation plan put in place that would give them more incentive beyond their salary. Now, keep in mind, this person was being hired at more of an executive level or a higher management level. So he already had a decent salary, a good salary, for Jacksonville, Florida. And I get to see the car that the guy was pulling up in too, which was a kind of a piece of junk car. So, you know, he tells me this thing, and this was just like the first domino that started falling. He says, you know, so he asks like the first day, he's like, hey, can we revisit that conversation about, you know, how do I make more money? And I said, well, right now, to be honest with you, I don't know what I'm going to grade you on. I don't have any experience working with you. So right now you're walking into a company that already has a lot of things that are going right. So if these things that are already in place, and just based on nothing that you do whatsoever, continue going better, how do I say, well, you know, that right there was because of what you did, you know? So he proceeded to tell me, well, you know, I have a hard time getting motivated if there's not a compensation plan in place. And I proceeded to say, well, you might have a hard time, you know, working at this company, because I've really put my heart and soul into this company. There's been times where I haven't taken a paycheck, and there's people that are making less than you are right now. And you're telling me that you're not going to get motivated. And I think that personally, everyone should want to be motivated to be the very best that they can be in the first place. Like, if you're going to come in and be my marketing manager, I want to know that you're committed to being a marketing manager. So that was the first domino that fell. Second, hey, do you know who Russell Brunson is? No, probably should have asked that during the interview process, but no idea who Russell is, no idea who any of the bigger marketers that we know of, at least in our space of kind of like being aware of who the influencers are in the marketing space. And, that kind of shows you that maybe this person is not really all that committed to understanding marketing or being in touch with the newest stuff, like what's going on with Clubhouse and, where you see the big marketers that are out there that are very influential in the space. And then you see the people that, maybe you have the corporate marketers that are just not aware, or they're just not studying because they're used to getting kind of paychecks. So, third domino that fell with that was when he told me 2 weeks after he started that the second day he was here, that I'm going to have to take the whole week off of Christmas. And, at first I wanted to be like Scrooge and be like, man, what the hell, bro? You just started a job. And then I thought about it, and I said, you know what? Okay, that's fine, man. Take the week off. I'm not going to be at work a whole lot that week anyways. So that's cool, man. No big deal. And like this entire time, I gave him this book, right? So I gave him this book to read, Traffic Secrets, right? Because I want him to really be up to date with how are we going to build our influence? How are we going to build our traffic? And, Russell talks about all these good tactics and everything. And he's coming into the office throughout this time and he's not doing it, right? He's not reading the book. He's not listening to the audio book. So it's like, what's going through my head this time is like, is this person really committed to being a marketer? Does he want to be the best at what it is that he does? And that's the kind of people that you want around, right? Like, you're giving your people little tests along the way and to see if they're going to fail the test. And, he's failing all the tests at this point. Like, I'm starting to be very, very frustrated with the person. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try to give him the benefit of the doubt the day after, like when he gets back from Christmas. I hope that this entire book has been read, because if you're not going to work that entire week, you dang sure should be able to find a few hours a day to be able to at least read or listen to something that's going to help make you better at what you do. And what do I get? I get a text message on Monday morning telling me he's not going to be at work until 10:45 because he still has some people in town. And at that point I said, you know what? I'm going to pack your stuff up. I'm going to put it in a box. You can come pick it up, but we're not going to work together anymore. This is just not going to work. He was surprised. I don't understand what happened. Said, listen, man, you gotta like the people that you're working with. You got to be able to communicate effectively with the people that you're working with. And I just don't feel that we're going to ever be on that page. So I'd rather just kind of define it now as opposed to letting things kind of like go. And I'm not going to like hold you hostage to where you're going to be coming into work and being unhappy, because I'm not going to be a happy person to be around. If I'm like, I got a small office here, like it's not a real big place. So like, I'm going to be sitting next to you every day. And if I'm unhappy with you, it's going to be uncomfortable for both of us. So I'd rather us just kind of define that now. So again, that was probably just years of growth and learning that, you know what, I made a mistake in the hiring process. I hired someone that maybe doesn't check all the boxes that I was looking for. And,
so Jay, what would you do different when you go to approach another marketing, executive to bring them on board?
I think that I would probably start with someone that has like a specific skill. Instead of bringing on like a quote unquote manager, bring on someone that could focus on maybe social, or focus on, like I know that I need video editors and I need people that can help document the day and get that content out there into the world. So I think maybe start smaller with some, maybe that person doesn't have every single thing, that maybe they're just kind of newer in the world and they can come along and do really good at one thing. And what you're looking for is someone that when they see this book, they take it off your desk and say, hey, can I borrow this and can I read it? Or someone that's already been exposed to this world that we're already in, like I ideally get someone who's already trying to show an interest in becoming like a world-class marketer, or understanding the mechanics that go behind being a world-class marketer, as opposed to maybe hiring someone who feels entitled to a higher salary because they've got years of experience, but they might not be kind of in the same world that I'm in. So yeah, I've thought about that, which is most likely going to be hiring pieces of the team and then I'm going to serve as the kind of the CMO of the operation until we get big enough to where we need a true CMO or a true marketing manager. Hopefully someone from that team that comes in rises up and proves to be capable of becoming that leader within the marketing organization.
I love it. No, I think it's great to kind of slow down, to speed up, and to really focus in on somebody that's sort of has a niche expertise. I think you'll get a lot of burn out of that. One of the things that I've been doing when I was scaling my business and growing my team was I create a project before I bring them on board that they need to tackle, right? So especially for designers, we have 6 of them at this point. And before I bring a new client on, before I bring a new designer on, I will go through a thorough sort of interview process on Zoom, ask some questions to see if their values align with my values, right? And it's funny, some of those questions, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, how do you value communication? And they're like 6. I'm just taking note. I'm not judging. I'm just taking note. But I know, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being awesome, that communication is 10 on my end, right? I'm just taking note. And I'll ask questions like that, like value-based questions like that, to see where their values are and see if they align. And then if they pass that test, I tell them, okay, here's a job. It's going to be quick. I'll give them something simple. Like, design me an Instagram carousel, 10 slides. Here's the text. I need it back by 12 p.m. Eastern tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wait, right? So when they come back, if the design is kick ass and they hit the deadline, I'm like, okay, so we're going to start with a 90-day probation period. I want to give you at least 90 days to get your feet wet, understand the processes and systems, see how the rest of the team works. And within 90 days, we'll know whether or not you're going to be a team member full time. And I took some of my corporate background, working at Hackensack Medical Center for 8 years over here in Jersey. I took a lot of some of how what I learned as a scrappy kid trying to work his way up corporate there, because I had a 90-day probation period when they hired me. So, right. So I took some of that, and I took some of the stuff that I've learned from colleagues and other brand agency owners that I've learned from, and say, all right, well, let's try it and see what happens. So now my freaking design team has been with me for 4 years. We're going on 5 years this year. And the turnover is almost zero. And so just wanted to share that with you, especially with this kind of position. For you specifically, Jay, I would say something along the lines of, all right, I'm going to give you 48 hours. Here's the problem. How would you fix it?
Yeah.
And see what they come up with.
Yeah. Hiring hasn't been my favorite thing in the world to do.
Well, it's expensive. It's time consuming, right? So, but I tell you, when you take the time up front, just like we talked about, building this brand, which I want to get into in a second. When you take the time up front to do the heavy lifting, sort of the back end of the project is quite easier. Well, I'm not going to say easier, but it's a little less stressful, right? So
yeah, I think my mistake with this was kind of, I was listening to some podcasts, and you just hear these like amazing kind of like CMOs come on this podcast. I can't remember the name of the podcast. It's like the B2B Marketer Show or something. And, we're in the process of really trying to move into the B2B marketing space. In terms of, I think all of our clients are B2B because they're business owners or they're Amazon sellers. So they are, in a way, are B2B, but it's easy to find them, right? Like, it's easy to go to Instagram and post some hashtag with some like screenshots of like sales and stuff to get them to a webinar. Whereas finding a supplier for example isn't quite as easy. They're not just hanging out on Instagram, or there's not like some hashtag that you could use to find these people. So the idea was to bring someone that's really astute in B2B marketing into the fold, that's really, really good at it. But I think I might have jumped the gun in the whole idea of hiring a manager or giving a role or a title of VP of marketing, whereas the person probably didn't really have that kind of skill set of being a VP of marketing. So I think growing into it is probably a better way of going. I think I heard some people asking this. They're like, I want to hire like these high end executives to come in and help me run my business. And, those high end executives, they're just, I was listening to one on Clubhouse yesterday, and it's the same thing. It's like, those people don't just grow on trees. First of all, they come with a much higher salary, which is going to put some stress on you as the business owner am I going to be able to absorb this salary while things are getting up and running? And, there's a lot of factors that go into it. So I think I just emotionally started doing it, and I got into the process, and what started happening was like, maybe I need to take a step back and maybe, like you said, really identify like what's the one thing that if we can really get this one thing moving in a good direction, we'll kind of be that first domino to fall and us being able to get to the next thing, which is very similar to when we did the brand accelerator. You're identifying your target avatar or your target audience, and it's probably not any different when you're hiring people. You should really have a clear idea of what it is that person is going to be responsible for, and what are they going to own. That way, that whether or not they're succeeding or not succeeding, and when I didn't have a compensation plan really dialed in to where I could say, this is how you're going to make bonus, that kind of tells you maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit.
Well, listen, a lesson learned. We know what not to do next time, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you just shared a great vulnerable experience with our audience today, that now they have a step up, maybe now that Jason learned that lesson, here's a way that I can do it a little bit differently to get a different result. So listen, I really appreciate your vulnerability and your transparency here, sharing that story. This is a very valuable lesson for especially people that want to scale and build a business, to your size or even greater. So let's talk about that for a second. I have about 10 minutes left before we got to jump. So you're in the process now of really, shifting directions, if you will, with your brand and your business to focusing in on a very, very specific type of client. And I want you to kind of share with the world who that client is and how you actually are going to help these clients, with your products and services.
So yeah, being in the Amazon space, in the seller space for a long time, you really start understanding what the challenges that your friends are going through, because you befriend these people. And my clients, I've befriended a lot of my clients over the years, and it's, when you start seeing they're all going through the same exact challenges, and I'm going through the same exact challenges, and I've been able to figure out how to solve those problems. We're in the process of really becoming a distributor. We are a distributor at this point. We set up relationships with suppliers, whether they be other wholesale distributors or directly with brands. And we bring those products to the market and help our sellers, our partners have access to highly profitable products that are moving, that are popular, that they can source in a matter of minutes. That way they can, get on with their day. I don't believe in like putting very little effort into your work. And I don't want to imply that you could just jump into something and make tons and tons of money without having an understanding of kind of like the mechanics to it. However, we've built, I think, the very simplest way for an Amazon seller to be able to work in their spare time and get some leverage on their money. So something that I learned a long time ago when I was younger was the idea of compounding interest. Are you still here?
Yeah.
You there?
Yep.
I hope I didn't lose you. So I learned the idea of compounding interest when I was real young. So I think of the Amazon marketplace as similar to the stock market, where the more money that I have invested into inventory, the bigger the cash flow that I can generate. Now, the difference being that the Amazon stock market gives you greater than normal returns that you would get in the actual stock market itself, because you can turn your money roughly 6 times a year, meaning that if I put $1 in the inventory today, I could probably have that dollar back into my bank account within the next 60 days. And if that dollar makes me $1.20, it's a matter of how many dollars do I have in the inventory. So our thought process along the way has been, well, what if we solve the problem for sellers to where they don't have to go get set up with the suppliers themselves? I'll be your supplier. What if I solve the problem to where you don't even have to figure out how to find the products from these suppliers? We find the products. I have a team of people right now that are sourcing products at this exact second, 24 hours a day, 5 days a week, that are looking and identifying opportunities, meaning there's a lower amount of competition on that product and there's demand for it. We call it the supply and demand imbalance. If we could find products that have more demand than they have supply, I just need to be able to help get that supply to market. So that's essentially what we're doing, is we're connecting suppliers that don't have maybe the right technology or the know-how, they don't understand the marketplace the way that we do. So we get with our suppliers and we use our technology that we've developed over the years to identify profitable opportunities. And then I present it to you, Henry, as a partner of mine, and where you can log in after you're done with work at night and spend about 20-30 minutes filling up your inventory of products. And if you truly buy into it as you get things going, the way that we all win is the more inventory you have, the more sales that you're making, and the more sales that you're making, the more profitable we both are, because you're buying from me and we have a partnership in this arrangement. So that's kind of been the major shift for us, is a little bit less is more, to where we're not constantly trying to find new customers to come in the door. We're just trying to work with our current grouping of partners to make sure that they have the opportunity to grow their Amazon business without them having to figure out how to go get set up with suppliers or figure out how to source the products. They're leveraging all the 7 years worth of experience that we've developed and all that $400+ million that's flowed through our software. It's all that experience that they can just plug in, process a couple purchase orders. We receive the products here at our warehouse. They don't ever have to touch anything, right? Like if I could bring you into my warehouse right now and show you everything that's happening in there. Right now we're prepping products and we're getting them prepared to go out to Amazon. And then Amazon handles the rest of everything, right? They handle the fulfillment. They handle the customer service. They handle all the crap that you really don't want to be doing, especially if it's like a side hustle for you, right? Like a lot of people that end up being clients of ours, it's kind of a side hustle. They're not at the stage to where they have their own warehouse, right? They're at the stage where they maybe one day want to have their own warehouse. Maybe they want to duplicate what it is that we do. If you want to talk about big vision, I have a vision for 2022 to franchise out our model to where that can be a way for us to get expansion, because we have the technology, it's proprietary. Nobody else has it. We have the know-how, we have the knowledge. We know how to bring customers in anytime we want to, thankfully, because we learned how to market some years ago. We learned how to present to audiences some years ago. So everything's just coming together. And I think that it's our very best offer. It has me excited for 2021, has me excited for the future. And there hasn't always been that excitement. There's been a lot of stress over the years to get here. So I feel really, really good about what it is that we're doing. We're really serving both our suppliers and we're serving our partners too. Our supplier, about a month ago, they reached out and they say, they wanted to get on the phone with us. And they're like, I don't know exactly what the heck it is that you guys are doing, but I can tell you every time we get to work on Monday, we know that we're going to have a bunch of orders from you guys, and we're really excited about that. So what is it that we can do to work with you guys? And, we've gone from 0 to $1 million in volume with that company within a few months. And that's just not usually the case. I mean, most of the time when we're reaching out to these suppliers, this is their kind of like their wall that they put up. They say, well, you got to be willing to process a $500 purchase order. And it's like, shit, man, we do that every single hour of every single day. Like, you don't have to worry about that, whereas most of the Amazon sellers that are reaching out to these suppliers, they kind of waste their time, because even if they get set up, they don't do anything, right? They don't know how to source the products. They don't know how to find the winning opportunities. So that's what we've been able to solve, to make it as streamlined as humanly possible for the average Amazon seller to be able to be successful by leveraging our business development team, by leveraging our knowledge, by leveraging our warehouse, by leveraging our software. And we just bring it all together for someone to be able to, just like you go to Walmart, you want to buy something. It's 2 clicks, you buy it, we handle the rest.
I love it. I love it. Sounds very done for you. And I know people that are working at high frequencies love that done for you program, hence why the Brand Accelerator program was born. And so, dude, Jason, if I could go another hour with you and pick your brain over some more lessons that you've learned from building such a massive business. I got 2 minutes, right? So I got one last question, and then I want to drive as much attention over to your website, funnel, wherever you want them to go. We will make sure that they get that. But my last question is, what makes ecomsolutions.io unique and set apart from everybody else in this space? Because the one thing that Clubhouse really opened me up to was the amount of people that are saying that they're Amazon 9-figure, 10-figure Amazon experts in that. So I didn't realize there were so many of those people claiming to be that. So what makes Ecom Solutions stand out from all of that?
Just years in the game. I can't speak for everyone else. I don't know what everyone else is doing. I know that we own our own proprietary technology, whereas, most anyone else out there is using someone else's technology. And what we've been able to do over the years is identify certain areas that these technologies need to be improved upon, and we make those improvements for ourselves. That way it gives us the leverage that we need, and we expose what needs to be exposed to our partners, so our partners don't have to understand how to take those spreadsheets from suppliers and load it into something. They can just log in, and we keep it locked down for the most part. We don't open the doors up to everyone. It's kind of like an exclusivity thing, which is kind of what's cool about Clubhouse, I guess, is it's an exclusivity thing. And, we don't need thousands of partners for us to be successful. We just need the right kinds of partners for us to be successful. And the way that if we were to compare ourselves to other automation services, that's kind of the buzzword out there, is automation services. They charge $25,000, $35,000 to get set up. We charge $400. It's absurdly low. But we make our money on the fact that we want to earn our keep with our partners. That's the way I like to do business, in a way that where it's win-win for everyone involved. If you don't feel like my service and my partnership is beneficial to you, man, just tell me. I'll give you your $400 back, no skin off my back. Because I know that I have other customers that literally are worth $100,000. I've made $100,000 on certain customers at this point. So I know the value of my highest level customers versus just being in it for the quick buck right now. Whereas I think a lot of these companies, especially these automation people, they're in it for the quick buck here today, and they're generally selling you on a bill of goods, and they're not capable of fulfilling on that bill of goods. And, the money for them is in that $25,000 upfront deal. The money for us is in the fact that you're successful and you're going to be a client of mine in 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now.
Oh, I love it, dude. I love it. Jason, I appreciate you so much for sharing your wisdom and experiences with us today. Where can people learn more about you and Ecom Solutions?
So we have a podcast rolling out. It might be out at this point. We have our first couple episodes that are dropping. It's called the Ecom Marketplace Secrets podcast. So depending on when you're listening to this, maybe it's up right now. And if it's not, it will be in a couple days. So it's called the Ecom Marketplace Secrets podcast by Jason O'Neill. And I'll just be sharing with you some of my kind of life lessons of selling on Amazon and life lessons of, I think building wealth. I consider what that podcast is all about is really about building wealth through the Amazon marketplace. And the way that we do it is by owning inventory.
I love it, dude. So guys, if you guys are interested in this space, definitely go follow Jason O'Neill and check out his podcast. We will get some links to the show in the show notes. If you found this episode valuable, please share it. I mean, Jason dropped some really strong, just vulnerable moments that we could all learn from, especially when it comes to hiring and building our teams. So I really love this dude inside and out. He's a scrappy dude like myself, and that's why I love him so much. And it was such a pleasure to have him on and for him to share that. So go and follow him right now and make sure that you show him some love. So we're going to jump, guys. I got to jump on this panel. Start.
Got Clubhouse, baby. Got to get on the Clubhouse panel.
So have an amazing day, guys. Don't forget to share this. Don't forget to write a quick little review. And I love you guys. And I will be sure to drop another episode real soon for you. So have an amazing day. I'll see you soon. Take care. Hey everyone, this is Henry Kaminsky Jr. again, and really quick, I want to invite you to a one-on-one consult with me right now if you're looking for the clarity and focus you need to build your brand. Over the past 13 years, I've served hundreds of entrepreneurs that have great products but struggled tremendously with articulating its value to their ideal customers. You didn't get into business to just change a few lives, did you? Your ideal clients need you. And when your brand has precision-crafted messaging coupled with beautifully thoughtful design that sounds, looks, and feels like you, they'll know you're the perfect match for them. If this is something you're struggling with, what I want you to do right now is pause this audio and go visit www.uniquedesigns with a Z at the end, not an S, .net, and book your one-on-one consult call with me. Remember, the quality of your brand will determine the quality of your clients, and the quality of your clients will determine the quality of your life.